Hello everybody, welcome along. Well, Kelly might not be here, but it's not a bad day to be alongside Wrighty. We'll show and tell you why later as we review Wednesday night's matches.
Well, it's a huge day for United fans, Manish, as Erik ten Hag has been announced as the club's new manager.
That's right. The club have dropped this on their social media in the last hour, announcing the new first-team manager of the club. And they go on to say in a statement that the Dutchman will take charge of the club from the end of this season until June 2025, with the option to extend for a further year. Manchester United's football director, John Murtough, says Erik has proved himself to be one of the most exciting and successful coaches in Europe, renowned for his team's attractive attacking football and commitment to youth. In our conversations with Erik leading up to this appointment, we were deeply impressed with his long-term vision for returning Manchester United to the level we want to be competing at, and his drive and determination to achieve that. We wish Erik the best of luck as he focuses on achieving a successful end to the season at Ajax, and look forward to welcoming him to Manchester United this summer. Well, in response, Ten Hag has said this: "It is a great honour to be appointed manager of Manchester United, and I'm hugely excited by the challenge ahead. I know the history of this great club and the passion of the fans, and I'm absolutely determined to develop a team capable of delivering the success that they deserve." So welcome along to the programme. With us in the studio, I've got Floyd Lloyd-Hughes, who's a broadcaster and sports journalist. Floyd, great to see you. Darren Lewis is here as well, assistant editor at the Daily Mirror newspaper here in the UK. Finally, Ian, we've got some clarity at Manchester United.
Yeah, well, we know what's happening with the manager, and yes, it's, you know, with Ralph Rangnick, we knew that what he was doing, it's going to come to an end. It's not been as successful as I think that anybody would have wanted it to be, but let's make no mistake, they've signed a very, very good manager, a very good coach in Ten Hag. So you're hoping, you know, you're hoping that he can do well for them in respect from a coaching point of view, in respect of structure and systems and everything like that. But there's so much going on that this guy's going to have to deal with right from the offset. Yeah,
Flo, it feels like the worst kept secret in football, this, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he's been linked to the job for a very long time, and then started this week, it had been said that it had already been confirmed. Then you've got the result and the performance on Tuesday night, which I don't think threw a spanner in the works in terms of was he still going to be appointed, more about the announcement. And I wasn't sure as well, because he had difficulty losing a cup final with Ajax that they were expected to win. So both sides, it was a difficult few days. So I thought United might wait a little bit longer, wait for both storms to blow over a little bit, but they've just gone straight out. Maybe United felt like they needed a positive bit of PR after Tuesday night, and need to give the fans something to get excited about, because it was a really bad night at Anfield. So at least now it's kind of saying, well, we can already look ahead.
Yeah. Darren, interesting. He doesn't take the helm until the end of the season. Do you think United might have been pushing for him to come in, albeit with a few games left of this campaign?
Yes, absolutely. Because if you're saying he doesn't come in until the end of the season, then you're surrendering the current campaign. The current group of players are not playing for Ralph Rangnick. Yeah. We saw that on Tuesday night, one of the worst performances from any team in the Premier League I've ever seen. It was a performance that screamed, we're not interested. First half, they didn't touch the ball in the opposition penalty box for the first 25 minutes. That's unheard of for a Manchester United side, unheard of for a Manchester United side in the biggest fixture in English football. So straight away that says we're not playing for the manager. There are two interesting things about that statement. They say he's going to take over from the end of the season. So have they surrendered Champions League football? Because they are in with a real chance of gaining it. They're within range of Spurs in fourth place. So why would you not bring him in now? And the second thing is, they're saying we look forward to him getting a successful end to this season at Ajax. Well, he has no more credibility at Ajax. Well, I say credibility, that's probably a strong word. Yeah. Clearly he does have credibility, but in the old days, when my beard was black rather than grey...
that wasn't that long ago, Darren, come on.
To be fair, no. A manager was announced and he took the job then. You're the manager of Ajax. Why are you telling everyone you're pleased to be the manager of Manchester United now? It makes no sense. United could have waited until the end of the season. I think they should have waited. Everybody knows that. You said to Flo, it's the open secret in football. They should have waited until the end of the season. But I don't think it helps United for him to get the job now. I don't think it helps Ajax.
I think that Flo hit the nail on the head, man. That embarrassing performance the other day is something they need to get that out the road and give the fans something positive to think about. Because, you know, you look at this manager coming in and players that may be going out. I don't think, Darren, going back to even with the Champions League and have they given up on it, I don't think it's a bad thing if Man United miss out on Europe.
Really?
I don't think so, simply because I think that they need to get into a situation where this manager needs to work with those players and get them playing, get them into a situation where they haven't got the pressure of that, so they can actually focus on the league with whatever system he's going to play, players playing well, do it, and then blasting themselves up in that way, rather than worrying about Champions League, are we going to get into Europe and that. Man United can deal with not being in Europe. And I think that they're at a stage now where they need to just get back to the foundation, back to ground zero and go from there with this manager.
Can I ask, Wrighty, I mean, I in a way I do agree with you in terms of getting to ground zero. The only thing I would say about United is we are in a very special season and a special era, if you like. The top two, remarkable consistency. They'll be in the Champions League next season. Chelsea will not be as weak. Listen, I think they've lost 7 of their 15 games at home so far this season. That will not happen next season when they recalibrate and go again. And then Antonio Conte, if he was to clinch Champions League football at Spurs, you can bet your boots he's going to bring in the quality to stay in those top 4 positions. Even Arsenal, with a young team, are going to go from strength to strength. So it's not like previous eras where Man United could regroup, go again, and you could pretty much bet your boots they'll be in the top 4.
Yeah.
I think this time around, although I agree with you that it's right for them to maybe recalibrate and clear the decks and do whatever they need to, but in this current era, there are so many clubs who have got the capability to retain their position in the top 4. It would be harder than ever if they were to miss out this season to get back in there.
I just wonder whether Ten Hag would actually think at this point that getting into the top 4 would be a bonus.
It'd be a massive bonus.
I suppose it makes it.
Where's that going to come from? Yeah, but Manish, where's that performance going to come from consistently? What we saw against Liverpool.
No, I know.
They're not making top 4, man.
100%.
I would say that now. 100%. Say that.
Yeah, and look, the rebuilding job. I mean, you know, so much has been said about the Liverpool defeat. That it's been humiliating. It's the lowest point for some pundits that they've seen United in 40 odd years.
It is.
Is this justified? Or is that hyperbole?
What do you mean? What they're saying?
What they're saying?
When you're looking at the ex-Man United players who were talking about that performance, they're not talking about it as, and we're seeing them in an angry state of like anxious. They are disappointed and sad. It's saddened.
It's empathy now, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it's worse. It's worse when people say, I'm not angry, I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
Because the club that they played for and they gave everything for, they realise now that they're watching a team and a club that is totally unrecognisable to the football club that they played for. And that, for me, it's a long way back with what we saw in that performance.
Yeah, just on the back of that, to back up everything that Wrighty's saying, the stats bear it out as well. This is the lowest point tally at this stage of the season in Premier League history.
Wow.
2 attempts on goal, 1 on target in a game against Liverpool. As I said before, didn't touch the ball in the opposition box in the first 25, 30 minutes. There are numerical facts that back up the state to which United have fallen.
Yeah.
I don't just think it's limited on the pitch. Structurally, there are problems with the decision making. It remains to be seen whether Ten Hag, for all he's done at Ajax, is a company man or is he a guy that's prepared to shake the tree and maybe really put some pressure on the people above to back him? So, yeah, right.
Well, look, there's no doubt Ten Hag will be more than aware as to the job in hand before putting pen to paper. And this is how Manchester United broadcasted the news on their official channels. Right, let's get the more reaction then, shall we, on the appointment of Erik Ten Hag from Ajax to Manchester United. Former United striker Michael Owen joins us now. Michael, great to see you as always. Well, first of all, your reaction to the news. That's been a long while in coming, I suppose.
Yeah, hi everyone. A long while in coming, yes, but I don't think any surprise. Ten Hag has obviously got a great record in the Dutch league. I don't think there's loads and loads of options out there, if I'm honest. So I think it was an inevitability, but listening to the guys just before, it was all a matter of when, really, whether now was the right time or when the season was the right time. I certainly think from Manchester United's point of view, after the result and the performance the other day, then this announcement couldn't come soon enough.
So you think this almost helps soften the blow for United fans after a pretty traumatic few days?
I think it does. I think it takes the headlines away from everybody talking about how bad Manchester United are at present to something else, to a new start, a new beginning. So 100%, it takes the spotlight away from the players, spotlight away from the club, and almost turns and spins it into a positive story. And of course, it is a positive story. A new manager. Everybody knew that a new manager was required, but it was all about the timing, and I think they've almost been backed into a corner, and they've had to say it or had to put it out there as soon as possible.
We just saw his CV there, Michael. 4.5 years at Ajax. He's made them one of the most young, exciting sides in Europe at the minute. He's done the double-double in the Netherlands. Is this what United needs? Someone to really invigorate? Is this the kind of appointment, for example, that will gain the immediate respect of those United players as soon as he walks through into the dressing room?
Well, I don't think his CV necessarily knocks your spots off. I think, being successful in the Dutch league hasn't in the past been the ultimate marker in the sand, let's say, for a Manchester United manager. You normally expect a bigger and better CV. But I think it's the way he plays his football. I think it's the achievements and how they've played in the Champions League over the years. I think it's the way he conducts himself, his brand of football. So I think there's a lot of things that are in and around Erik ten Hag that lead you to believe that he could be the right manager. But based purely on CV, then it doesn't strike me as, wow, that's the next Manchester United manager. Of course, you're looking at his wins and his stats here, but it is in the Dutch league. It is being the manager of Ajax. I mean, they are the strongest side and have been for a long, long time in Holland. So, as I say, I think it's other things rather than the cold, hard facts of his managerial career that has got him the job.
Michael, I was talking before about the fact that they've announced it, but he comes in at the end of the season. Do you think it leaves the club in a state of limbo in some respects? Do you think any of the players, for example, whose contracts are running down, might be minded to turn around and say, do you know what, I might stay now?
I think that will be the hope of for a couple of players, or for the club maybe thinking about a couple of players. And I think that positive spin can only be a positive note. I don't think there's many negatives as far as Manchester United are concerned in terms of announcing it now. I do think from Ajax's point of view they could have timed it a little bit better, but the need was so great after the performances that we've seen in recent years, I should be saying, for Manchester United. I think the need was so great they probably bulldozed this through and said, no, we need to announce it as soon as possible. So internally at Manchester United, there's going to be problems. Players out of contract, players getting maybe booed by their own fans, players not happy. The whole mess is going to needs to be tidied up at some point. So I don't really think that that has come into the equation so much. I think that's going to be a huge problem for Ten Hag as soon as he takes over. But for the here and now, I think for the billions of Manchester United fans around the world, then it was probably a well-timed announcement from their point of view.
I was going to say, Mike, in respect of like the owners and what's going on upstairs there, it just seems to me like the owners have done another thing where they've taken all the attention off of themselves and they're lacking of what they're supposed to be doing and putting it in a situation where the fans and everybody have averted their attention back to the football and the manager and the players, which we've already seen happen before, and we've not seen success with it. What's got to happen? Something's got to happen upstairs as well, Mike. We know that they've just got rid of two.
Yeah, the head of scouts.
Head of scouts.
Yeah.
So Is that something that Ten Hag has asked them to do? I just think that it's deflection from upstairs.
Yeah, and how many times have we seen it, Wrighty? I mean, as soon as there's a problem in a lot of organisations, then somebody's head will roll, or something will happen, or they'll divert a bit of good news out there that might have been soaring for a while. It happens all the time, and as you say, at Manchester United, surely they're running out of things to do now. Surely, they can't announce another player at the moment. The manager is the next thing, and once this happens, then where have they got to go after that? I mean, it's just one after another. Manchester United have been doing it for so long now. They keep announcing the next great player that's going to sign, whether it's Pogba or Di Maria, or you just go back and back and back, all these great players. They can't all be bad. It can't all... I mean, I keep going back to it. I think if you swapped, let's say, Jurgen Klopp and the Manchester United manager, give it 2 or 3 years, and those players, you'll be seeing similar performances from Manchester United players that you're seeing from Liverpool players, because bear in mind that the thoughts that we all had about, let's say, Liverpool when Jurgen Klopp took over, based purely on CV, then it doesn't strike me as, wow, that's the next Manchester United manager. Of course, you're looking at his wins and his stats here, but it is in the Dutch league, it is being the manager of Ajax. I mean, they are the strongest side and have been for a long time in Holland. So, as I say, I think it's other things rather than the cold hard facts of his managerial career that has got him the job.
Michael, I was talking before about the fact that they've announced it, but he comes in at the end of the season. Do you think it leaves the club in a state of limbo in some respects? Do you think any of the players, for example, whose contracts are running down, might be minded to turn around and say, do you know what, I might stay now?
I think that will be the hope of for a couple of players, or for the club maybe thinking about a couple of players. And I think, that positive spin can only be a positive note. I don't think there's many negatives as far as Manchester United are concerned in terms of announcing it now. I do think from Ajax's point of view, they could have timed it a little bit better, but the need was so great after the performances that we've seen in recent weeks, or recent years, I should be saying, for Manchester United. I think the need was so great they probably bulldozed this through and said, no, we need to announce it as soon as possible. So internally at Manchester United, there's going to be problems, players out of contract, players getting, maybe booed by their own fans, players not happy. The whole mess is going to needs to be tidied up at some point. So I don't really think that, that has come into the equation so much. I think that's going to be a huge problem for Ten Hag as soon as he takes over. But for the here and now, I think for the billions of Manchester United fans around the world, then it was probably a well-timed announcement from their point of view.
I was going to say, Mike, in respect of like the owners and what's going on upstairs there, it just seems to me like the owners have done another thing where they've taken all the attention off of themselves and the lacking of what they're supposed to be doing, and putting it in a situation where the fans and everybody have averted their attention back to the football and the manager and the players, which we've already seen happen before, and we've not seen success with it. What's got to happen? Something's got to happen upstairs as well, Mike. We know that they've just got rid of 2.
Yeah, the head of scouts.
Yeah. So is that something that Ten Hag has asked them to do? I just think that it's deflection from upstairs.
Yeah, and how many times have we seen it, Wrighty? I mean, as soon as there's a problem in a lot of organisations, then somebody's head will roll, or something will happen, or they'll divert a bit of good news out there that might have been soaring for a while. It happens all the time, and as you say, at Manchester United, surely they're running out of things to do now. Surely, they can't announce another player at the moment. The manager is the next thing, and once this happens, then where have they got to go after that? I mean, it's just one after another. Manchester United have been doing it for so long now. They keep announcing the next great player that's going to sign, whether it's Pogba or Di Maria, or you just go back and back and back, all these great players. They can't all be bad. It can't all... I mean, I keep going back to it. I think if you swapped, let's say, Jurgen Klopp and the Manchester United manager, give it 2 or 3 years, and those players, you'll be seeing similar performances from Manchester United players that you're seeing from Liverpool players. Because bear in mind that the thoughts that we all had about, let's say, Liverpool when Jurgen Klopp took over, and some of the players, they've just all reached an absolute different level. And nobody will convince me that a lot of these Manchester United players aren't very good players. We've almost, because we've seen them for 4 or 5 years now playing so average, that's just what we believe now. But I'm convinced, absolutely convinced, if the right manager comes in, we'll all have a different opinion of a lot of these Manchester United players. Think, wow, where's that come from? How on earth can he play so badly for 3 or 4 years and now be showing this? And I'm sure that that's obviously what all Manchester United fans are wanting Ten Hag to produce, get these players playing how everybody knows they can do.
Michael, what do you think his targets are for his first season? Top 4 or a trophy? Maybe even a title challenge if he... I know that sounds a bit illusory right now, but you're talking about Manchester United. They finished second last season. What do you think his targets for his first season should be?
Yeah, I was listening to you earlier, Darren, talking about where they've slipped to and how where can they get to? Can it be immediate? I certainly don't think that it can be immediate in terms of having a title challenge. Next season, they will never, ever, ever be good enough to beat Liverpool and Manchester City to the title next season. I just can't believe that. However, I do believe that even though Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal, teams like this are strong and possibly getting stronger, I don't think that just due to the size of the club, the quality of some of their players that might resurface, I don't think it's out the realms to be a top 4 team next season and maybe win a cup. Who knows? But I think the league is the barometer of success, and I think Manchester United probably want to be getting into that 3rd or 4th place next season and then go on a challenge. But I certainly don't think that it's insurmountable to beat Tottenham or beat Arsenal or something at the minute. I mean, for heaven's sake, they're playing so badly at the minute and they're in and around those teams. So just a little injection of quality and they'll be up into 4th or 3rd place. But I think it's it'll be way too early in one season to be able to challenge the top 2, who are quite clearly different class to everyone else at the minute.
Just one last one, Michael. If you were a top player now and you had the choice to either join United or you had a choice, for example, to join Conte at Spurs, for argument's sake, which of the 2 would you go to?
Manchester United, I think, Darren. I mean, I love everything that Spurs are doing. The stadium, the training ground. It's a great club. It's got great history. But Manchester United is Manchester United. And, it's like Real Madrid. It's like Barcelona. It's got the history, it's got the fan base, it's got everything. It's a special club. Liverpool's got that special club. I hasten to say, Wrighty sat there as well. Arsenal. I mean, there's certain clubs that are just that bad. It just is history, and I'm all about history, tradition, and things like that. So, I don't care where Manchester United in the league, there will still be players queuing up to sign for them. And that's not to say if Man City or Liverpool come in and they wouldn't go there ahead of them, because obviously that's where the success is. But outside of the successful 2 at the moment, I still think that Manchester United is the draw for most players.
Brilliant stuff. You turned into mini Michael for a split second just then. I think we lost the line too. But Michael, great to hear from you. Former Manchester United striker, Michael Owen. I mean, that's an interesting point, isn't it, what he makes? Would you agree with him there?
But the thing is with Man United is that what we can't deny is how great they are as a football club around the world globally. And at any stage, if Man United come, especially if they come in with a young, vibrant, new coach with good... It's tempting. It's tempting. And you mentioned Tottenham there, which is probably where you probably have to kind of mention them at the moment. But I still believe that people will choose Man United because it is, like Michael said, it's Manchester United, and you have to feel that if Man United get it going again, you're in one of the best places in the world.
Ralph Rangnick has already spoken about the need for 10 players, up to 10 players in the summer to get United to where they need to be. And of course, the fact that Klopp and Pep have needed 4 or 5 years minimum to get them up to speed. Is it going to take Ten Hag that long, do you think, to try and get United back challenging for a title?
Well, the other night, Rangnick said that United were 6 years behind Liverpool, and I think then Michael Richards said it was 10. I just don't know if he's going to get the time. I think it's all well and good appointing.
But that's what he's been brought in to do,
Well, exactly.
surely.
But United haven't yet shown that they're willing to be patient with their appointments, and I think that's the problem. Is this finally going to be the actual start of a new era that should have started when Alex Ferguson left? You just don't know.
Which has already been 9 years.
Exactly. Every single time there's a new cycle, you think, right, okay, this is the time United will be patient. This is the time they're going to do things right. And then they don't, and they need trophies, they need success now. But an appointment like this is not a short-term win. So this has to be a long-term appointment because he's still developing himself. He's a young coach who's only coached in a few different leagues and not one of the quote-unquote big 3 or 4 leagues in Europe. So he's always going to have a disadvantage against Guardiola, against Klopp. So there has to be some patience. But he's already got, as Michael said, a huge array of talent to work with. But it's about adjusting to the Premier League, adjusting to working in a club like Manchester United and then making that work for him, bringing his style of football. He has to have time.
They have to give him time. It's like when Moyes went, Moyes got a 6-year deal. So that's what their thinking was. And that's what their thinking should be with Ten Hag.
And when you see what David Moyes is doing now in his second spell at West Ham, you now feel there's a sliding doors moment.
Exactly.
Should they have stuck with him, then
there could have been an alternate universe in which David Moyes is leading United to a Europa League final. But that's what happens when you're impatient.
Well, look, there's been lots of scrutiny at United, sorry, Darren, in terms of player recruitment. And we've spoken about the changes already in terms of head of recruitment already going and global recruitment too. But managers being recruited, their win percentages. Interestingly, the current incumbent, Ralph Rangnick, has the lowest of the lot of them. Jose Mourinho has the most there, 53.8. It's all around the 50%. I mean, Ralph under 50, by the way, is interesting when you consider at the minute in a different league for Ajax, Ten Hag has a win percentage ratio of 79%. It's interesting now, isn't it? Talking of Rangnick, where does this leave him now?
It's a really good question.
Because not only did we know he was there as a temporary manager, and to all intents and purposes, the players aren't taking to it particularly well because they know he's out of the door, but that's merely just been confirmed.
Absolutely. I just don't know if there's a role for him, because if Rangnick is going to do his job properly, he needs to be empowered. If you look at City and you look at Liverpool, they are 2 clubs where the managers have all the power. When you played for Arsenal, George had all the power. Arsene had all the power. If you look at United, there are lots of competing opinions and interests and legends and former players who are in influential positions at the club. And it's just a cacophony of noise. And I think if you look at all the papers tomorrow, all of them will have on the back page the news finally confirmed, and on the inside they'll have the reaction, there'll be another spread, and it will have the intro, what he's got to do, the primary things. And I think one of the things the club has to do is empower him. And if it means stripping away a level of bureaucracy or whatever it is at United that's holding the club back, then they've got to do that as a primary thing. Then he's got to build on that defence. I think all top sides are built on I'll hand over to you for that one. And that's before you start looking at stellar players. Stellar players are not going to get United back to where they want to be. Players who work hard, who have a touch of class, but who work hard. Players who've got the right mentality, who buy into what Man United want to do. Who don't just think, got 2 years left, I'm going to run my contract down. That's not commitment.
No.
That's what they need. I think all the papers will have extensive coverage of where they go, not just rah, he's been put into place, because this is far from the end of the story. If anything, this is the beginning of maybe demolishing the whole thing, metaphorically speaking, and then starting all over again. He's got a big job.
I was going to say is they make the kind of decisions that a club of that size and stature shouldn't be making. It's like when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, when he came in, they said, when he comes in, we're going to see how he does, then in the summer, we'll make a decision. He done well, and they just, bam, they forgot everything what I was doing in the summer and signed him. It's the same with Rangnick. Rangnick's come in, I can't, was it 3 years or 4 years ago, when his last time he managed? And they've already said, when he's finished with the interim, he's going to go upstairs. Why say that? Why put that in? Because you look at what he's brought to Man United in his tenure, and it's nothing. I saw Darren Fletcher telling him that looked very strange to me. He's meant to be the guy who's going to be the director of football or technical, whatever he's going to be.
And this is the
people
point.
Are telling him what to do.
You know, like senior players like you, Wrighty, when guys like that come in, I know we're all saying nice things about Ten Hag, and rightly so. You know, he deserves respect. But when you're senior players, from what I gathered, talking from other former pros, you know, they come in and players suss them out. Particularly senior players suss them out. How far can we push him? What can we do? What can we get away with? Oh, how's his CV? Is he any good? I've heard lots of people say that about when Arsene was at the club. Is he going to get that early rough ride, perhaps?
You know what happens? What happens is that, especially if you've got big players in there who've achieved things, what they will do is, no matter what his CV is, it's the sessions he puts on.
Right.
It always comes down to the sessions he puts on. Because the senior players and the experienced players and the players who are probably going to go on to be coaches, they know what the team needs, and they want to see if he recognises that. They want to see if he recognises the players who are not pulling what they should be doing, pulling their weight. And if he does stuff like that and put on sessions where you feel like you're improved, Arsene Wenger's sessions were amazing.
It captivated you straight away.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, with everything what came with the nutrition as well, were unbelievable, and everybody just was all in. And that is what it comes down to, Darren. If he comes in and the sessions are like what probably happened with Ralf Rangnick. They're saying, what's happening here? And the way they're playing, that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah. I think it's what Antonio Conte's done at Spurs. Yeah. Completely transformed. I mean, Harry Kane, I think, said he's the fittest he's ever felt.
They all look fitter.
Exactly.
Yeah, they all look so much fitter, and he hasn't really picked up any major injuries either. I think it's going to help them in the long term. So you see what a coach can do when they take training to another level.
And do you expect now a different response from these players now that they know that this guy is definitely coming?
Potentially, though I think there are some that are out of contract that probably already know where their future lies. Yeah, I think their minds are made up, and other players like Phil Jones, who've been in the background for so long now, that they probably know that there isn't a future for them at Manchester United, and they need to look elsewhere for their own future. So I think it's a mixed bag. But I think certainly if you're a player like Jadon Sancho, you know that this is your moment because he's shown sparks of it. He came in with a lot of potential. Obviously, we know how good he is, and Manchester United wanted him. So now this feels like a perfect opportunity for a young manager who's going to believe in him and give him those opportunities for him to flourish.
And wingers, essentially, are also very important under Ten Hag at Ajax. So Jadon Sancho could well form strongly in his starting lineup. So just to recap on today's breaking news, in the last hour, it's just broken that Manchester United have announced that Erik Ten Hag is their new full-time permanent manager up until June 2025, with an option for another year, but he won't take the helm at Old Trafford until the end of the season. All right, time for a quick break on the programme. When we come back, Wrighty's going to have a big smile on his face because we'll be looking at events at Stamford Bridge. 2 goals from that man, Eddie Nketiah, as the Gunners resurrect their top 4 hopes with a 4-2 win at Chelsea. Welcome back to the show. Now to the part which Ian has been eagerly waiting for. That face says it all. In West London, we were served up with a corker in that derby between Chelsea and Arsenal. Andy Townsend and Jim Proudfoot were watching.
Well, we scored 5 goals and lost 4-2. That's easy.
By that you mean?
3 own goals and 2 regular goals for us and 1 for Arsenal. And that makes it 4-2.
Was it all the more surprising or indeed frustrating because you came into the game on such good form?
Yeah, and then we decided to give a goal away for absolutely nothing, and we did the same against Real Madrid, and we did the same it cost us Champions League, and did the same against Brentford.
It was tactically really demanding. They constantly change the shape, positioning, and we have to adapt. We managed to grab a little bit the game. We look dangerous all the time in the counter. When we're arriving in the final third, we always looked a threat, scored 4 goals, conceded 2. What else? After 2 difficult weeks, is a great day.
Your smile when you walked in the room tells us how happy you are. But what do you like the most tonight?
What I love is the spirit of these players. And when you lose matches, you get punched and you get criticized. But for these players, I don't care because it's so worth it. They are phenomenal people. And as a group, they are really growing and they're really enjoying to have that. And then for our people, because I know that with all the hypes and the the expectation that they had has been really disappointing for them. So for us to win a London derby away from home the way we did it, I'm really happy for them as well.
You know, Wrighty covered this yesterday, but this was him just now reliving the moment, almost like 24 hours later. You still loved it, didn't you? And by the way, when Saka did score that penalty, the fourth goal for Arsenal, this is how it went down with this fella.
Joy from the penalty spot for Bukayo Saka to set the seal on a memorable Arsenal victory.
Yes!
Forward's gone the lad.
Yes! Don't write us off!
What do you mean, don't write us off? Who's writing you off?
Everybody's writing us off. We conceded 6 goals in 3 games.
Yeah.
You know, all of a sudden, Palace, Brighton, Southampton, coming up against Chelsea, people thinking we're going to lose 4 on the spin.
Yeah.
And then they put in a performance like that. It was brilliant.
Do you think they're going to get top 4 now?
I don't want to put pressure. I don't want to put that kind of pressure on them. I think 6. I've said top 6 all along for the season because we finished 8 consecutively.
Yeah.
8th consecutive. So if they finish 6 and get back into Europe, brilliant.
That's progress.
If they can get into the top 4, then a lot's going to have to be done in the summer. But it will be magnificent. Will that young team be able to stay consistent enough to challenge that? You know, you don't baby steps, man.
Look at that. I mean, you're level on points with Spurs, which in itself makes it even more intriguing, of course. And then you've got a 5-point gap to make up on Chelsea, who've got a game in hand. I mean, which is interesting.
Well, the thing you look at Chelsea at the moment. You look at how Chelsea played yesterday, and that's an interesting one to watch because, but for our inconsistency, Tottenham's inconsistency, Man United's inconsistency, one of those 3 teams should have caught Chelsea. They should have been in the way that they've played and how poorly they've played and the results that we've seen from those 3 teams.
Yeah.
But like Chelsea have been like the beneficiaries of some poor play behind them, if we're going to be totally honest, because that was another poor performance from Chelsea. Brentford, that one. And, you know, like I say, no one seems to want to grab it and go and get it. So hopefully Arsenal can do it, but I wouldn't want to put the pressure on them.
Yeah. You're doing your best to keep the pressure on off them, aren't you? Let's have a look in terms of the teams involved in the race for the top 4. So Spurs and Arsenal, as we mentioned, on 57 points. Manchester United, 3 points behind them. You got West Ham there. I mean, are they still in the mix for you? What do you think?
I think West Ham have got such big fish to fry at the moment. And it's a magnificent season for West Ham, whatever happens. If West Ham can finish in European places, then it's fine. But if West Ham could go on and hopefully win the Europa League, which is going to be so tough.
Yeah.
It's going to be a magnificent season, whichever happens. But their squad is always going to be the test for them. Have they got enough depth? That's the only thing that's always going to cause West Ham a problem.
Yeah, but even if they don't get it, they can have a say.
Yes,
who finishes
they will.
In
Yeah,
the top 4.
they will.
They're still to play Arsenal, Darren.
Yeah, I think they do have a say. They could knock Chelsea out. They could knock. I mean, I'm at the Chelsea
Chelsea's
game.
place in that top 4. Is it looking a bit wobbly right now?
Absolutely.
Here's why.
It's been a tough couple of weeks, and I think that FA Cup semi-final win took a lot out of them mentally and physically. I think obviously everything that's going on in the club, it's been a difficult few months, and last night as well they were missing a few key players. I mean, Darren spoke earlier about defensive foundations being so important, and they have a lot of defensive issues. They only had probably 2 of their ideal starting back line last night, and it showed. Alonso probably not good enough to be in a top 4 team. Sarr not really good enough to be in a top 4 team, and how Trevor Chalobah's not starting ahead of him, I don't know. Azpilicueta, club servant, but getting towards probably the end of the time and being in a group like that, and they peaked massively and quickly under Thomas Tuchel to win the Champions League in a very short space of time with him. But I think he probably realises that they've added a lot going forward. Lukaku has been performing under expectations, but really this summer they need to focus on the defensive and midfield issues, because at the moment they're looking quite light, they're looking quite tired. And I think that group of players have kind of peaked now, and you need to shake things up.
And they're looking vulnerable at Stamford Bridge. I mean, that's 3 home defeats on the spin in all comps.
They've lost 7 of their 15 games at home so far this season.
Do you think
that's a lot?
You think their top 4 hopes are?
Yes, I do. I don't think they are guaranteed to stay in the top 4 because, as Flo's been saying, that top 4. We talk about that back 4. When you talk about Man United players with their eyes on the exit door, you've got players in defence at Chelsea who are thinking beyond this season. Azpilicueta is going to join Barcelona. It's an open secret. Christensen signed a deal with them as well. Rudiger is looking for his next club as well. He didn't play last night. He's got an injury. We don't know when he's going to play again. Sarr doesn't look as though he's ready. Alonso doesn't look as though he's good enough. Chilwell isn't going to be back until next season. So there are real concerns about that backline. Even in front of them, Kanté isn't the force of old. You know, he's still got that energy and that commitment, but that Arsenal side where every bit is equal, and we saw in that footage there moments when the Arsenal players were pinching the ball off Chelsea in midfield. And this is the problem with Chelsea right now. They are there for the taking.
He made the decision to go with Lukaku instead of Havertz. Now let's not forget, he bullied Arsenal's backline in that second game of the season, right? And we all remember Rob Holding and the rest of it. But things have not panned out the way he would have liked. Are we possibly talking about an exit from Stamford Bridge this summer for him?
I think when you look at, I'd hope not. But when you look at the way Chelsea play and the way they want to play, you have to say that Havertz, Werner and Mount seems like his preferred three. That was a sad sight for me because like that said to me that the manager has said, well, we're not going to do it with you on the pitch, £97 million player. We're not going to do it with you on the pitch. A player that we thought was the missing piece in there.
That was on the hour.
That was on the hour. So if you've got 30 minutes to go and you're taking that player off, you have to be looking at yourself deeply.
Right, you always said what you thought when you were a player. If you're Lukaku, would you want to force a way out, or would you want to stay?
You know something, Darren? When you look at his exit from Manchester United, you know what I mean, and you know it wasn't great. You know, with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and the way it left, you know, his exit from Inter Milan, even though it's a lot of money, you know, they're not too thrilled if he wanted to go back. And now he's at another club where it's frosty and it's not. At some stage, you're going to have to settle down and make something happen there for us. Because if he leaves here now, then I don't think that he gets the respect that he should be getting for the calibre of player he is and could be. I would not want to leave, because I wouldn't want to have that kind of that failure around me, because that's what it is at the minute. When you're looking at him getting taken off with an hour, after an hour, and like the record signing, that is not good. So, you know, and looking at some of his movement in the game, even for the second goal, Azpilicueta is making better movement in the box than Romelu Lukaku is.
It's bizarre though, because when he joined Chelsea, all the talk was how he was lighting up training and he looked so fresh and so good and even better than when he was at Manchester United. And that game at the Emirates that you mentioned, Monique, he was unbelievable. Arsenal couldn't track him.
It's like, you know, he's back, the Lukaku that we know.
They couldn't deal with him. His movement was unreal. But suddenly and quite quickly after that, he's had some injury issues this season. It's just tailed off completely, and that's what's bizarre to me, because it was there. It's not like he never started the season well when he joined.
It's how quickly it changes for him.
But that's like, how has that happened?
Well, it's the form, then the illness, and then the interview. It's kind of compounded, everything compounded. So he kind of like put himself in a position where, you know, he's talked himself into a position where, why have you done that? Why have you brought that on yourself? And you're such a big signing for this club. I do hope that he can get it going, but so many things have had to change in how Chelsea play. Do they play towards him? Because in that Arsenal game, as much as just that they were playing, everything was kind of going towards him. Arsenal were very poor in the game. They let the avenue into him. It was very easy.
I think the problem that he has is that at the elite clubs, the game has changed. If you look at the top 10 goal scorers in the Premier League, most of them are wingers. Or deep-lying forwards. They are not pure strikers like him. And even if you look around him, I mean, Ronaldo's 37 and he's got 15 goals in the Premier League. Salah's a winger, 22 goals. Even Mason Mount, a midfielder, 10 goals. He's got 5 in the Premier League. And when he plays, anybody can see he is so easy to mark. He doesn't make life difficult for the defenders. There were 2 around him and they could have been reading a copy of the Daily Mirror while he was standing there.
Other publications are available.
Other newspapers are available.
Got that before you.
But you can also get us online.
Mind you, holding an iPad at the time would have been a bit tricky.
But I think as far as Havertz is concerned, when he plays, There's an energy about him.
There's a fluency about fluidity.
There's a fluidity, absolutely. At City, there is a fluidity about their front line. You don't know who to pick up. You don't know who to mark. Liverpool were interchanging all over the place. United were seeing stars the other day. I think as far as Chelsea are concerned, I think he has a problem because right now he is an expensive plan B.
It's such a shame because, you could see the smile on his face going back to what he called his boyhood club at the start of the season, and it just hasn't quite gone his way. Ironically, talking about the leading man in terms of Arsenal, released by Chelsea as a youngster, let's not forget, Eddie Nketiah, first goals in 13 months, first time he's ever scored 2 in a Premier League game. You've just said you couldn't be more happier for him.
So happy for him. We're talking about a period of time in Arsenal where Aubameyang and Lacazette, it wasn't happening. For whatever reason, they weren't scoring, and he's the guy. He's came back from Leeds, he scored goals at Leeds, didn't get a fair crack at Leeds, but he still scored some goals. And I was thinking he's going to come back into this team with this opportunity, with them guys not scoring, and really make a real play for being the number 9. Because I think he's got the box goal scoring ability in the box to do it. Can he link up play and do that? You're hoping he can as well. But what he hadn't done was any of that. I've not seen great movement, not seen any urgency in him to understand the opportunity that was lying right there for him to just take and run with. And that's his second start, I think, in a year. That's damning when you consider Arsenal. They've scored the least amount of goals in the top 5. Damning when you're a young striker trying to make your way in a team that there's a space for you. So to see him come on, to see him start last night, and I'd still believe that Lacazette's got to that stage of his career. He probably doesn't score that first goal, and I'm not sure if he's going to score the second goal. The hunger and the determination to still be about it. But for him to do that now, and listening to him do an interview the other day, saying, I just want to run. If I could get a run of games, I believe I could put the goals together to get me the berth in this team.
Yeah, and you like the way he took his goals.
The first goal
against Chelsea.
First goal was brilliant because that's the kind of goals that you have to score at Arsenal. They defend well, they do well, but they miss too many chances in the moment in the game where you need it. So as the team that you're doing it against, the opposition, start to fret because you've scored in the moment and you're in the ascendancy.
It's the transition goals.
Yes.
Transition goals that they were so good at for so long. And it's finding that rhythm again, having the performances of El Neni and Xhaka, disrupting play, forcing turnovers and then making the most of that. Because I think they have had players who can do that, who can break up play. Then the output is too slow. And it's about capitalising on those opportunities. But I'm not sure if Nketiah is still it's too soon or he's too young to still be the man for Arsenal now going forward, because they desperately need someone and they might find someone in the summer. But does that then put him back into the 5-minute spell?
Well, this is the problem he has, and this is the decision he has to make. And this is the problem like Mikel has, because now Eddie's shown that he can do it against that kind of opposition. And we're not talking about the greatest defenders in that particular side, but it was a big occasion where Arsenal needed to score those goals, and he needed to make that, especially the first finish. He was under pressure to do it. But I think that whether he's the main guy now or not, I think what he needs to show them is that if you do bring someone else, I need more opportunities than I'm getting at the moment. Yeah. Otherwise, yes, he has to be thinking about leaving because he wants to play. Whether or not Arsenal can put all the chips in on him and wait maybe in the summer, or if not the summer, in January, because he's starting to score goals, that's something that only they will know what they want to do.
It's a lot of pressure to put on Eddie Nketiah.
Massive amount of pressure.
He was the first Arsenal player, incidentally, to score 2 Premier League goals at Stamford Bridge since Robin van Persie over 10 years ago.
Yes.
Is he going to be a shoo-in, therefore, after what he did against Chelsea, do you think, to start against Manchester United next?
Yeah, he has to be.
He's got to be the man now.
It's interesting that while we were watching off air, I was talking about the second goal being really impressed by. But listening to you talk, Wrighty, I was thinking the first goal, because often in tight games, it's the first goal that is the most important one for obvious reasons. And the composure to score it, the acceptance of the pressure to score it as well, given what you were saying about Lacazette, and the finish as well between the keeper and the defender, all of good reasons why, it might well be that this is the moment that it clicks. And then it comes down to about personality. Does he have the touch of arrogance to say, I demand to have that
I feel like
faith?
he showed that in the second goal celebration, which is important, I think. And I think Saka showed that as well, is that everyone knows that this is a great bunch of guys And Arteta said that in his post-match, talking about the fans, my people, I love it for these guys, my group. But they also need to show a bit of nastiness, a bit of arrogance, a bit of swagger that's beyond just the way that they play football, and is actually in their demeanour, the way they carry themselves.
Yes.
The attitude.
They've got that.
And I think they've got that now. I see that more in the way, because everyone knows Emil Smith-Rowe and Saka as like the smiley boys. They're happy personalities. But actually, I think what you saw last night is the young guns now saying, we're not just good guys. We can punish you at the right times. And that swagger now comes in their celebration. It's the way they hold themselves. It's the way they were celebrating with the fans in the away end. That kind of attitude of like, this is us, we're winners now. That's huge. And that mentality, I think, will be big for him.
Yeah, it was interesting, because I know on your social media you wanted to praise the Egyptian Perlo, otherwise known as Mohamed El Neni, in the way that he went about his business alongside Granit Xhaka. But it's what it does to their belief, right? This is a young, impressionable side, being guided by a young manager, but they have shown they have got the character to bounce back in style from 3 successive defeats. And top 4, come on, they got pegged back twice, but they've got the character to bounce back.
Yes, but they've also got a capability of 3 losses on the spin out of nowhere. Because going into the Palace game, they were going into the Palace game very confident, and bam, it's like a wake-up call. Brighton, very well organised Graham Potter side, bam. And then Southampton, a team that's not long, just got 6 put past them. They beat Arsenal as well. So for the team to come back from that and go to Chelsea and do that, I think it's a brilliant performance, simply because of the youth in the team and the belief that they've obviously got in each other. And Eddie coming on and doing what he done, and Xhaka playing unbelievably alongside El Neni. You needed players to step up, and something different had to happen, and it did against Chelsea.
And they might feel United are there for the taking in the next game, but now that Ten Hag has just been announced, who knows how that affects dynamics. It's intriguing as always in the Premier League. Now, before we head to the break, Arsenal legend Thierry Henry and Wayne Rooney became the first inductees into the Premier League's Hall of Fame for 2022. And now there are 6 more legends who join them. Let's go from bottom right, shall we? So Sergio Aguero is in, as is Vincent Kompany. You've got Didier Drogba, Paul Scholes. They've been joined by Peter Schmeichel, and they've all been voted in by the fans from across the world, as well as one man who you may recognise as well. Let's give him a round of applause. On the top left, there he is, Ian Wrighty. Many congratulations.
Hall of Fame, baby.
Yeah. How does it feel to be recognised like that?
I'm very proud. I'm very proud of Darren sitting here, and he can share in this moment with me. It's very humbling. It's very difficult to deal with, simply because it's not a moment. It's a recognition of a journey that I didn't think would ever happen. I didn't even think I was going to become a professional footballer for many, many years in my life. So then by the time you get to a Palace and, someone like Steve Coppell I dedicate this probably to Steve Coppell. And the way he shaped me coming straight off a building site into Crystal Palace. And for me to get into the Hall of Fame even with those players, it's very hard to comprehend right now, because I still can't believe it.
You seem quite emotional, actually.
I am emotional.
I've never seen you like that.
Well, the thing is that it's a kind of a recognition that when I was playing, I believe I was doing pretty good stuff. I didn't feel like I got any kind of recognition for the way I played and the way I approached the game, what the game meant to me, what the fans meant to me. And, you just get on with doing what you do. And as I've stopped playing, people are very complimentary about how I used to play, always saying things like, I wish I played for their team because of the way you play. And that's how I always played. But from the age of 8, all I wanted to do was play football. And I heard Thierry say if he wasn't a professional footballer, he'd be an amateur footballer. And that was me. So to be in the vicinity of these people, who I would have just been happy to be in the conversation, it's very, very humbling. It's hard to deal with.
A young boy growing up in South London, you played football really as a form of escapism, right?
Yes, all you could do that.
And you had doubts all your career to know whether you'd make it to the very top. And here you are. We're talking about you along the same lines of Thierry Henry. And
my love and my passion for football never waned, even when I was going through some difficult times through my adolescence, my teens and all that stuff. I always played football. Never, ever thought that, with all the trials that I had, I never thought that it was going to happen for me for whatever reason. I don't know. And so when it finally happened at 22, in the space of a couple of weeks, you know, all of a sudden I'm hearing that Crystal Palace were looking at me because I was scoring goals in my Sunday side 10MB. And, you know, I scored a couple of goals in the final. I actually scored a hat-trick in the final.
Not that you like to talk about it.
But like...
and then there was just a tap on the shoulder?
No, it wasn't actually then. It was when I went for a trial to see if I was going to play for Dulwich Hamlet. And, you know, it was after that game, I scored a few goals in that possible probables game. And then a Peter Prentice from Crystal Palace, the first time a scout ever approached me, he came over and his words were, "Hello, my name is Peter Prentice and I represent Crystal Palace Football Club. We'd like to offer you a 2-week trial at our club."
Wow.
I'll never forget the words. And it's funny because when he done that, I was like, woo, finally, at 22, someone's approaching me. But then what happened is that I thought about it and I turned Palace down 3 times because I didn't want no more rejection. Going back to my community, being that player that was always the one that everybody thought was going to make it and kept getting rejection. And I didn't want to go back and say I went to another club and failed like I did at Brighton when I was 19. So then I just said, I turned him down 3 times and it was just bare luck with my foreman asking me about what's going on, how you doing? And I told him I turned Palace down twice and he said, you should go because of that. So I went and then bam, the rest is history.
Amazing. Talking to his foreman on a building site. It's incredible, isn't it?
This right there is the reason why you are a Hall of Fame. I mean, I obviously don't want to embarrass you too much here, but I think it is important. When we use, in newspapers and in media, we've done it both, Manish, we talk about inspiring a generation. And I think what Wrighty did inspired a generation because we saw lots of, and there are some wonderful other footballers in that Hall of Fame and there will be more that will be added. But Wrighty told millions of kids in similar situations, where, you know, and men today, that could be you. You could do what I did. You can play amateur football, semi-professional footballer. You could play for Crystal Palace. You can lift Premier League trophies. And I think as far as what you did, I mean, the numbers, everyone knows about your numbers. 6 seasons, you were the top scorer at Arsenal. 4 of those seasons scored more than 30 goals.
213 appearances.
Incredible. But I think with the other players, I know Sergio's in there and Didier's in there, but with Wrighty's more than the numbers because it was the impact that he made to guys like me sitting at home watching on our TVs. This is a guy that challenged authority, made, you know, you talk about your doubts, and we saw a guy with supreme confidence at a time when it was hard. I don't want to be too heavy here, but it was hard to be a black footballer in that era. But you were successful, you were confident, you were charismatic. You sang songs on Friday nights, all right. It was honestly that
you were authentic, and that's in a time when people weren't allowed to be true to themselves and authentic.
Absolutely.
But the real question is, do you still have the building work skills?
No,
no, they're gone.
The best thing that happened to me was turning football because my wall would have fallen down. My plaster would have fallen off the wall.
Yeah.
I had a foreman, Mr. Burke, and like he literally, when I told him I could play football, he said, "No way, you're nowhere near intelligent enough to play football." I couldn't keep the plaster on the wall.
Yeah.
Went to the right career then.
But honestly, it could not. It's so well deserved, and I think millions of people, even your Instagram message today, you know, millions of people understand what it meant from where you've come from to where you are right now.
Righty, well done.
Thank you very much.
It's great stuff. Time for a quick break on the programme. When we come back, we'll be looking at events at both ends of the table on Wednesday night. Manchester City picking up a big win with the pressure on. And do I have to see this again? Yes. Everton got a late point against Leicester. Welcome back. So 2 more games to look back on from Wednesday night. Let's take a look at both. Let's start then, shall we, at the Etihad Stadium. Manchester City returning to winning ways. It was nervy after a goalless first half, this one, Wrighty. But in the end, they came away pretty comfortable winners. And Kevin De Bruyne, by the way, played his part.
Well, again, you know, there's a little bit of luck here for Manchester City, but they deserve the luck. Manchester City play one way. They're going to attack you, and they're going to continue to attack you. Get another bit of luck here with the deflection. But, like, it was what their possession deserved. You know, they're going to keep going at you, and this is why you listen to Pep, and he says things like, "I'm so proud of these guys, they don't stop." That's a great goal. You know, they don't stop going at it. It's very tough. They knew that Liverpool won. It's mentally, it's what they done last night and what Brighton done was exactly what you want to do as a Brighton team. You want to go there, you want to frustrate them, you want to try and make them rush and not do what they normally do, but they know how to navigate this stage of the season. Yeah. Very patient, and then in the end it was quite comfortable for them.
What was interesting, I was watching you guys in the studio last night, Flo, also the crowd at the Etihad got so nervy. I mean, they were vocalising it just before the half-time whistle. You don't hear that at the Etihad. They've not been given any reason, to question the players. But as Wrighty mentioned, we saw a couple of missed chances, Mahrez amongst them. I just wonder, is there a stumble left in this City side this season just to make the title race even more interesting?
I think so, potentially, yeah. They would have looked at that game on Tuesday night and thought Liverpool look ruthless right now. They're peaking at absolutely the right time. They're just finding their rhythm, and Klopp has become the master of that. He's become the master with everything going on with his background staff, physically and mentally. They're like Olympic athletes now. They are built to peak at the end of the season. And Guardiola is not tired, but they've had it easy for probably about, 18 months? They had a fairly straightforward time of it last season, and up until start of this year, they thought this title was theirs. So it's hard when you're used to steamrolling a lot of teams, you're used to having a lot of things your way. As soon as things get nervy, you need to tap into something you've not experienced before, which is the pressure that you rarely have when you're at the top all the time and you've got best players in the world and the best manager in the world. So I think it is a real test of character for them to come through a game like that. And I think the fans would have seen that and thought, okay, I'm still feeling confident that this group and this manager can do it. But I think that game on Tuesday night would have made them very nervy, and then not to come out all firing at the start and have a bit of frustration up against a very well-organised Brighton side. To win and be ruthless like that is very important.
You know the thing is that I remember '98, knowing that you had to win all the games, especially when after Sir Alex done that interview saying, well, we'll see how they go, if they can win. Leading into the games, you can't think of anything other than how disastrous it would be to lose, because you know that Man United are doing what they're doing and they're probably going to keep going, and they did. And you look at this Man City side and they'll look at Liverpool, and like you said there, rightly, Flo, they were magnificent against a poor Man United side, let's face it. But you look at Liverpool's fixtures and maybe you could see a Tottenham, whichever Tottenham turn up, if it's the great Tottenham, the top Tottenham, what we've seen turn up, then it could be a problem. But other than that, as a player, you're watching that game last night as a Liverpool player. In the first half, you're feeling, wow, this could be it, because you want the cushion. You want Brighton to do something, even if it's a draw, so as you can have the cushion, so as you can win the game, and then you have that cushion where it's 4 points. So even if they win, you've got that cushion. And those are the things that you think about when you're getting ready to watch Manchester City or Manchester City watch Liverpool. You're hoping that they could do that, because then the ball's back in your court and the pressure is on. It's a very exciting time, but a very nerve-wracking time.
Yeah, but what is more fascinating is they're becoming hardened at it, though, aren't they? City particularly, going for their, fourth title in 5 years?
Yeah.
They've been there, they've been chased, they're doing the chasing right now. They've seen their 14-point lead whittled down. It's only just one now after 32 games, which is quite incredible, really. They do keep pushing each other to bigger heights. Individually, you look at the performances. Mahrez, 23 goals in all competitions now. He's come into his own. De Bruyne back from injury. And to get minutes into Diaz's legs after 9 games out, is it clicking together at the right time, maybe?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, listen, I think Flo's talking about the fact that they're battle-hardened, if you like. We know all about their physicality. But the interesting thing was, I remember the turn of the year when lots of people were saying, look, it's all over by the shouting. Should we just give it to them now? Guardiola gave a really instructive press conference where he said, look, you can all say what you want. There are 51 points left to play for. Yeah. There is no way that this is over. And he will have drummed that into his players even back then. So he's never been complacent. He's never taken the title for granted. I do think that these are two of the finest Premier League sides we've ever seen in terms of their consistency, their squads, their focus, their ability to get the job done. And for us in the media, particularly in the print media, it's fantastic because we will look back at this period at one of the great title races we have ever seen, that one of the great sporting duels we have ever seen, between two men who get the best out of each other and two teams who get the best out of each other. And that's with respect to the Invincibles, and that's with respect to Arsenal, Man United, and Man United, Newcastle. These two teams are so consistent. I can see them having it between them for another 2, maybe even 3 years.
Let's have a look at the title run-in then for both of them and what they've got left to play. There's a couple of games that are to be confirmed. So for Manchester City, that Wolves game away at Molineux, we expect it to be played between the Newcastle and the West Ham game. And similarly then for Liverpool and their game away at St Mary's against Southampton in the penultimate league fixture. But on the league front, they've both got 6 games, 3 at home, 3 away. Can we predict from those games?
The one thing I'd say, Manish, is if you look at the City side, those fixtures all look winnable. But where did they drop points this season? Southampton, West Ham. You know, and this is the thing about Palace. They're beaten by Palace. They could drop points, absolutely.
So they're looking more vulnerable to you?
Listen, the one thing that we've done this season, for most of this season, is played the game on paper and seen on many occasions that what we thought would be a shoo-in did not come to pass. And by that I mean this: I don't know anybody who thought Arsenal would go to Chelsea last night and win. And that's exactly what they did. So I think we can look at these fixtures and kind of play it out and say, I can't see where they drop points, but that is the beauty of the best league in the world, because all of those teams could, on their day, give both of those teams a real scare.
You look like Liverpool got the derby, you know, and you've got Everton side now that they're not giving up to the end, but we know that Liverpool are more than capable of, in a 10-minute spell, there's 3 goals right there. But you look at Newcastle away for Liverpool is going to be tough for us for a spell, but I think that it's the Tottenham game at home. Tottenham at Liverpool. Is that going to be at Liverpool?
It's at Liverpool.
At home, Anfield.
You see, that's the kind of game.
But hang on, so what are you saying about the Everton game?
Well,
of course, it's the Merseyside derby. You can't see Liverpool dropping points.
You can't see them drop points, but it's a derby. You just don't know. You just can't say. If somebody says you have to tell me who's going to win, I say Liverpool, but you just don't know, because obviously I think the Tottenham.
Do you know what?
Game,
I think I always beg to differ. I can't see Everton picking up anything from that.
Well, yeah, but the thing is that I remember I was here talking about Manchester City and Tottenham, and I think it was Leanne was here with me, Sanderson, and I think, was it me and you, or it might be me and Miggy? We said, no, Tottenham are very well equipped to be able to beat Man City, and they beat them. Now, they're very well equipped to be, because they've got the front men and they've got a defensive kind of surety, especially when they've got the 5 away from home, where they can frustrate you, but they can also, they can hurt you at the other end.
You know, just one other thing, actually, on the title race, which I think is fascinating. If you look at Liverpool's last 2 games, right, so, of course, Manchester City in the FA Cup and the way they destroyed Manchester United, I feel City have inadvertently given Liverpool a bit of a leg up here to rediscover their swagger, because the changes they made to their lineup in the FA Cup semi-final, they both made 7, right? But they both had contrasting challenges in the Champions League the games before. But Liverpool put City to the sword in that first half by going 3 up. And after that, you can see they picked up where they left off against United. Salah's banging form, Diaz is brilliant. You know, suddenly Mane is the man ahead of Jota and Firmino. And then you got Thiago playing the way he is. I actually think Liverpool have been given a bit of a helping hand, a psychological edge from that City Cup win. What do you think, Flo?
I think so.
There's a swagger about them.
I think it's given them a massive boost, and when you're beating the team that you're fighting for the title for, that's going to give you a huge confidence boost, a huge psychological boost. And then you've got a win against a long-time rival of Manchester United at home in front of that crowd. I think they've got a lot of confidence, but I think Guardiola is very good at getting his side to move on from failures or disappointment. And I think losing that cup semi-final, I think they'll be able to put that to bed quite quickly, because they'll say, right, now we've got to keep going for what's still left to fight for. Still got the Champions League, and they've still got the Premier League. So I think they can fully focus on that, whereas Liverpool still have that now distraction of being in the Champions League, and that's going to be a lot for that group to cope with, because they are a very strong group. They do have depth, but defensively, that depth isn't as strong. So if they do suffer any sort of injuries, that might be what unravels them.
You know what? It's because I see the Tottenham game as a banana skin, simply because I'm actually desperate for Liverpool in this era, in this time, this manager, this special vibe that I'm feeling with Liverpool. I would love them to do the quadruple. I'd love them to do it. I would love them to do it because, you know what, you couldn't find a more befitting team of it in the way that they have. And you know what, City to a certain extent, you think City with an out-and-out striker probably can be doing the same thing, but Liverpool in the current climate, I really would like for them to do it. And what I like about Liverpool at the minute is that when you talk about it, Jurgen Klopp's he's not shutting it down like, no. He's embracing that. Yeah. Because he knows what his team's capable of, and this is what I love about it. This is something that you're going, destiny, man. I think that there's something special happening for Liverpool this season.
Which will be spine-tingling if history is in the making. OK, another couple of games on Wednesday to bring you now, starting with Newcastle against Crystal Palace. So we saw Newcastle and Everton pick up good results. And Newcastle just there teetering on the top half, which is incredible when you think about it. They've hit the 40-point mark after 9 wins in 11 games. Incredible turnaround under Eddie Howe. But Everton, with that goal literally in 93rd minute against Leicester, means that instead of a 3-point gap on the bottom 3, they've got a 4. And psychologically, how big a point could that be for you, Dan?
Massive, because there's small margins. Burnley simply have to put together a sequence to get out of trouble. I can't see them doing it. They don't score enough goals. We just saw from the graphic that Everton scored so many more goals this season. I think it's 8 more. And they've also conceded more goals as well. I can't see it being done.
No. Burnley play home twice before Everton next play. Everton could find themselves in the relegation zone by the time they take to the field.
Yeah, and I also think with what happened to Sean Dyche, I think the players are probably feeling a little bit low on confidence. That was their leader, that was their man. A lot of them have worked with him for a number of years and they were quite happy with the project, the way it was going. And I feel like if you were a Burnley player, you would have felt like you'd have the most confidence having been there and done that and been safe and survived with Sean Dyche. And now not having him is a completely different situation and scenario. It's something that is relatively unknown for that football club.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of really exaggerated their situation now. I think it's made it a lot tougher.
It'd be tough. It'd be tough going into this period without him. That's the thing, because he's there and he probably gives them that confidence to know that they can do it. But with him going, the most baffling decision I think I've ever seen. And we see some crazy ones.
Yeah.
For him to go at this stage, they probably deserve everything they get if they do go down.
But that's not just the baffling thing, is it? I mean, the baffling thing is they haven't got someone to succeed him. That's the thing. If you're going to make a decision, make sure you've got someone ready, waiting in the wings, because you're in the bottom 3. Anyway, we could be chatting this for the next hour and a half.
Exactly.
Just to recap the day's big news, Erik ten Hag has been installed as the new manager, permanent manager of Manchester United. He will take the helm at the end of this season until 2025. With an option for another year. So he's on the way in, we're on the way out. Thanks to Darren, Flo and Ian. See you next time. Bye for now.